I really appreciate everybody hopping on here. I hope you're half as excited as I am to learn the REO wholesaling business. I got my tablet, my pen, my notes. Cannot wait to start taking notes here. So with us today, we have Bruce Alston, aka the Wolf of Wholesaling. He did 800 plus transactions just in REO wholesaling alone. He's done tons and tons of short sales, traditional wholesale deals. He's just got tons of experience. He's going to be going over how to wholesale specifically bank-owned properties, which right now, if you guys haven't seen the writing on the wall yet, it is absolutely here. My short sale business is literally 3x, 4x as we're speaking. Tons of REOs coming on the market. So this is very, very relevant and important to learn. Bruce, I'll turn it over to you and do your thing. By the way, guys, any questions you guys have, feel free to send them in the comments, and then I'll ask Bruce as we go, okay? Awesome. Go ahead, Bruce. Take it away, man.
Hey guys, good to be here this morning. Can you can hear me all right, correct?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, great. So just briefly about myself, I'm primarily in the New York, New Jersey area, uh, and I slipped into the real estate business just by chance. I had left Wall Street somewhere around 2003. I've been working as a money manager for 9 years. Thought I was finished, thought I was retired, thought I was going to do anything. My father owned a tavern business for about 40 years, right? So it was like a family-run tavern in Jersey City. And one day a customer said, "Hey, Bruce, I got a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Well, I have this property my mother hasn't lived in. It's been vacant for about 11 years. She's like 98 years old. We still have a mortgage on the property," which I was surprised. And he goes, "They were about to foreclose." Now, I'll remind you something. This is 2003. And banks weren't aggressively foreclosing on people at that time. I mean, they had not paid a mortgage payment in 11 years and the bank still hadn't taken a property. Okay. So speed up. I get into calling the bank for them, negotiating with them and saying, "Hey, you can still, what do you want to do with the property?" Because I want to get rid of it. Okay. So I said, okay. So I'm talking to my father. He goes, "Wait, you can get the property for what? 90,000?" He goes, "Why don't you buy the property?" I said, "What?" Okay, so I didn't think about it. I said, "Okay, I'm going to buy the property." So I'm buying the property. A friend of mine happened to be, who was very involved in real estate, happened to be driving down the block when I was viewing the property. He was an investor. He said to me, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, I'm buying this house." So he goes inside, looks at me, he goes, I'll pay you. Let me know if you want to flip it to me." I said, "Flip it to you." So I heard about flipping, so I'm like, "No, I'm not." He goes, "No, I'll wholesale it for you. I'll wholesale buy it for you." So he goes, "I'll give you 150 for it." I said, "Wow." As is. I'm buying it for 90. The people are getting 25,000. He's willing to, so he basically said, "Bruce, we can buy it right at the closing table." I said, "Okay." 90, I'm going to make a quick $60,000. I'm like, wow. Went to the lawyers, closed within about 30 days. I started my new business. I went from doing that one deal. I remember it was September of 2003. Within 3 months, I had 3 people working out of my condo, where I ended up moving the business into the trust company building in Jersey City, where I took like a half a suite. So from 2004 to 2007, I scaled this to over 30 agents just doing wholesale deals for me. All right. So what I did was I made them all associates of my company, and I let them go do their thing. So I set it up like a Wall Street trading room type floor. We're banging out Liz Pendens. We're just getting leads from everywhere. All right. So then I just hopped on where I'm talking to a bank rep one day and they say, "Hey, are you going to our bank websites and everything?" Right. There's a lot of properties there. So that's when I saw fool's gold. I was buying stuff from this company called Altiga Credit that was up in Massachusetts. I was buying from Aquin, which later became Hubzu, right? I'm buying from PSA REO, which was Wells Fargo, Bank of America. I'm just start buying properties. So when I say buying properties, I mean wholesaling properties, right? Now, the same principles are the same when you actually wholesale properties from banks, okay? When as far as they're going to give you a contract, right? You're going to take the contract and you're going to look to assign it or look to double close on it, right? But here's the key that what you have to do, right? Now, everyone's going to tell you bank contracts are non-assignable contracts. Very true, right? Very true. But what I always did when I bought my properties, right, is I told the bank when I'm negotiating, yes, this is how I had my contract submitted. It would be Wall Street West RE slash to be formed, right? 189 Main Street JC LLC. So for every REO deal you do, you should be setting up a brand new LLC for that property. Okay. So someone's going to say, why do I need to do that? It's very simple. You never want to, you want to give yourself an opportunity to do two things. Okay. Real investors will understand something called the LLC buyout, right? This is going to allow you to assign a bank-owned contract. So I'm going to go over that first, okay? So bank wants 200,000 for a property, right? You bid on it, you win the bid for 170, right? Now, the beautiful thing about when you bid, you have the bid for 170, right? And the one thing I'm going to tell everybody, right? Stop right now. When the banks tell you, right, when you negotiate with them, they're going to say to you, oh, we'll pay for your closing costs. So do not let them pay for your closing costs. Do not let them do that, because now you're using their title company and you're giving them complete control over the deal, and you don't want that. And I've had bad experiences where the banks don't always pick up everything on their title that they give you, right? You'll turn around getting exceptions and everything that you're not even worried about, that you're not even aware of. So always use your own title company. And if you structure it correctly, you'll also have your title company, the one doing what? Holding the escrow deposit, which is true, okay? Which can be done. Now, when you negotiate that, right, you're going to tell them who your title company is, and you're going to tell them, listen, the money's going to be held with the escrow company. Not a problem, right? So now you have your contract, you go into escrow, you leave your deposit, right? Now, why do I need to have it in 189 Main Street LLC? Okay, now you have the ability to do what? You have the ability to assign your membership shares in that newly formed LLC and have an investor buy it. And when I say that, this is this. If you go to an investor and you say, listen, I want to wholesale this property, it's a bank-owned property. Be very transparent and say, hey, I have a newly formed, I'm sorry, one second. Cody, you bother me. Sorry, guys. That's the dog wanting to get out the room. So,
Hey, Bruce.
So
Hey, Bruce, I
anyway,
have a question here, Bruce.
yeah.
So you go to a new buyer, okay, and you're going to ask them to buy the interest in your LLC. Do you find, and I don't know if you were going to get into this or not, but do you find difficulty, like, if you don't personally know the buyer and you guys don't have rapport yet? Isn't that an issue?
Let me tell you, some of them understand the LLC buyout, right? Which they understand it's the only that it was only formed for this, right? And they'll ask you, how old is it or how new it is, right? And don't worry about it. If they don't go for it, we're just going to do a double close with transactional funding. Okay. So it's not a big hurdle. But the reason why I try to get them to go on an LLC buyout is because very simple as this. You will walk out of that deal with basically being a ghost. And when I say this is this, you will not have to pay closing costs. When they buy that LLC at the table, right? They're now going to be required to pay all the closing costs and everything, right? And you're just going to get your LLC fee for buying it. So, example, I'm buying the property, right, from the bank, right? Now I'm selling to my seller, and I'm going to the seller saying, hey, listen, there's two ways we can do this. I can do an LLC buyout with you, right, where you buy out this newly formed LLC, right? Or, right, we can do a traditional double close. I buy it from the bank, you close on it at the same time simultaneously.
Okay, I have another question here, Bruce.
Yeah.
You say a double close. I know in my business, short sales, we deal with deed restrictions. And for anyone on the call who doesn't know what a deed restriction is, the bank puts literally verbiage on the deed restricting what the buyer could do with it. Okay, so the bank in a deed restriction a lot of times say, hey, you can't, you could buy the property, you can't sell it for, let's say, 90 days. Okay, do you find that with these REO properties?
Now, let me tell you something. It was a common thing, but let me tell you, if anyone wanted to call Michael Schoenberg, he's a lawyer that I've been using for about 20 years, or you want to call Jack Miller, is an attorney in Jersey City. I don't want to sound cocky, but I created the LLC buyout just for that. And what happened was this. Back when the crash happened, like you said, there was a lot of deed restrictions on short sales, REO properties, saying that you can't resell a property for like 90 days. That's when transactional funding came in, where these people basically, if you had an end buyer and they were strong and they put up a deposit, they would fund you. They'd fund you 91st day they close, right? I created the LLC buyout is because of this. As long as I'm closing in that LLC's name, right? The deed does not change ownership. So as long as, let's say, 189 Main Street you had a short sale, Bobby, or you had a bank, and I bought the property under that, right? And I sold you the membership rights, right? The bank cannot restrict you from selling your company. I'm not selling the property. I'm selling my membership interest in that company. All right. Title companies, I've gone through this with them. They say it's perfectly legal. Yes, the bank can say this property can't change ownership, meaning the legal name on the deed, but I'm not changing the legal name on the deed. I'm changing who are the officers or who's the member of that LLC that owns that property. You know what I mean? So 189, if I bought 189 Main Street, Bobby, today, and I had a deed restriction on you, right? And I say, hey, Bobby, you know what? I have this company, and the only asset we own is this property called 189 Main Street in Jersey City. But I don't want to sell you the property. I want to sell you my company. Once I sell you my company, you've legally now become the owner of that company and also all of its assets. So that's why I'm able to do it directly at the closing table. All right. And they can put deed restriction on, but they can never tell you based on the laws. They can't tell a person, well, you can't sell your company. Tell me I can't sell the property, but they can't say to me, I can't sell my company. So that's why even on short sales, I always try to tell everybody, start a new LLC on every deal because it gives you wiggle room to basically operate. Now, some people like to say, oh, well, I want to buy they make the worst mistake in the world on banking REOs and on short sales in the beginning, because they'll use their company name on the contract. That short sale gets issued to you, it comes out to they issue that short sale to you, it's made out to Alston Partners LLC. They're not going to let you change that. A lot of times they'll say, oh, you got to resubmit the whole package over again. Or if you get a lucky underwriter over there, they might say to you, if the members are the same in the company, I'll allow you to do it. But you're better off from the very beginning letting them know that you'll be forming a brand new LLC for the property.
Got it.
All right.
Okay. Okay, understood. All right, we have a question here from Stephen about the LLC buyout. So when do you create the new LLC? Okay, so when do you create it? Do you incur an expense creating it? Definitely, yeah. You have to
Yes.
pay an attorney. What happens if the deal doesn't close? Are you on the hook for the expense of creating the LLC? I can answer that, yeah, but go ahead.
But this is the thing. What I do when I submit my offer to the bank, right? It's I'm submitting it under, let's say, Bayview REO, New Jersey / LLC to be formed, and I give them the name. So I don't form that LLC until they say yes, they're going to sell me the property. All right. So in New Jersey, we're able to, New Jersey, New York, a lot of states, it's like $100. You can go online and you can form your own LLC. You can do it very easily yourself. But that's what I tell people. It's just the cost of basically doing business. So don't form the LLC actually until you actually have an approval on the deal, right? And you say to them, listen, I don't want to form this. I'm just letting you know this is going to be my holding company. And that's why you write on the contract LLC to be formed in the property address. I hope
That's
that helps
actually
you,
a great
Steve.
question because I would have said form it at the beginning and I'd be wrong. So that's a great question.
But Bob, you're not really wrong because I'm going to tell you, sometimes with a short sale, right, they'll tell you they need to see it formed.
Correct.
Okay, depending on the bank. So you're not completely wrong on that at all.
That's where my
Some
mindset is because when I buy a
Yeah,
short sale, I have to submit that to them in the beginning.
exactly. So there's some banks that so you're not wrong on that. Sometimes
Yeah.
on wait until you have a byline up before forming the LLC. Uh,
The
uh
question, just so everyone, in case anyone's driving or whatever, Stephen just asked, do you wait until you have a buyer lined up before you form the LLC? Go ahead.
I'll tell you this. I would advise you, yes, Stephen, but me personally, right? That when I go buy when I get a property, I already know who I'm selling it to. Because I've been in the business so long that I have a group of investors that I deal with. I'm like, okay, Chris is going to take this, Marty's going to take this. I know the numbers, I know what they want. But I would tell you, yes, if you can't, what's probably going to happen is you're probably not going to be able to do that. And I'm going to tell you why. Once the bank accepts that, they might say then to you, we want to see that LLC. Create the LLC because now that title company might even want it because now they're starting to run title and the bank wants to make sure they want to bind that contract with the actual name. So you probably will have to, once they agree, you're going to have to form that LLC. So you're going to have to incur that expense.
Okay, Bruce. So, okay, that's amazing information. So we have the exit strategy of how you're going to wholesale and sell the deal. If there's a deed restriction, is the LLC buyout. That's the way to get around
Yes.
it. Talk to us a little bit about the actual process of wholesaling. Get into like the nuts and bolts of actually wholesaling the strategy, step one, step two, you know what I'm saying? From the very beginning.
Okay. And let me tell you, the strategy, right, is basically the same. Like I said, is the same strategy you would use on any deal, right? As far as like even with a bank-owned property, don't believe that you have to operate differently with a seller just because they're a bank, an estate, or they might be an institutional lender, or if it's just a regular person. Your numbers are your numbers, right? So primarily when I look at a deal, right, I'm looking right now anywhere between, because depending on what market you are, I'm looking to buy properties at anywhere between the 60% after repair value and maybe like around 65 to 70%. If it's an overinflated market where there's a high demand, I might even go up to 75% ARV on a property, okay?
Minus repair costs, correct?
Minus repair costs, exactly. All right. So here's what we do. Uh you get your seller, right? You I don't actually believe in uh the assignment thing, right? I'm not a big assignment guy, right? But because some here in New Jersey, a lot of title companies now are allowing you to do assignments, right? But they're making you they're making you have the seller, right, and your buyer sign off on your fee. So that's why I'm not really big on assignments, okay? If that makes any sense to anybody. That's something that's coming industry wide. And what is happening is the title insurers themselves, like Chicago, they're forcing people now to disclose these assignment fees, okay? So this is the way I go about it. I find a deal. Hi, Mr. Jones. I'm Bruce Alston. My company is Wall Street West RE. We're a transactional real estate investment firm. I'm in the area. I'm looking for properties. Right now, I see some things in you might be going through some trouble, and I let them speak, right? That's if I'm dealing with someone who's basically losing their property, right? Now, if I'm dealing with a real estate agent, I'm looking to buy a property in a wholesale, right? I tell them straight up, listen, I'm a real estate investor. I have connected partners. You know, if they ask, I provide them with a proof of funds. I get the deal, and I keep them totally out of the B2C. Okay, so do not actually let your agent know that if you're buying from an agent who will be represented by a bank, don't let them know you're a wholesaler. Don't do it because they're going to get anxious. They get nervous. Oh, will they close? They think you don't have the ability to close. But I got to go back because rule number one in wholesaling is I tell all my students, don't go shopping for groceries without money. Do not do that. Do not go out there and get a ton of contracts saying, oh, I'm just going to put contracts out of contract. It's the biggest waste of time. This is what I tell people how I started out the wholesale business, right? I just simply went to the sheriff's sale in my area. I walked in there, I watched the sale. There's usually many investors. I went up to those investors and say, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I locate discounted properties. Can you tell me what your buying criteria is, right? And I get a sense of number one, these are real people. They're there with cash money willing to put 20% down on a property, right? So you know they're real investors. I usually try to get at least 5 to 10 of those people, right? Investors get their criteria, right? Then that's when I go shopping. That's when I go shopping for deals. Because now I know I basically pre-qualified these people, these investors. They're in the sheriff's sale, they're buying properties 20% down. They gave me their locations. They've given me an idea of what their buying criteria is, what areas they're buying, whether they're buying single families, multi-families. They've given me this knowledge. I go with that, right? With that buy. Now I go shopping for deals. Now, one of the biggest hurdles that I think many of you have is how do I show my proof of funds on a wholesale deal, right? You can contact me, you can contact a few other people that are transactional funders,
Bruce,
and they could go ahead.
sorry, I have to cut in just to make it clear. So what he means by that is when you're dealing with REO properties, it's one of the requirements. It's not like dealing with a seller because most motivated sellers, they're not asking for proof of funds. The reason Bruce is saying this is because banks, in order to make an offer and put a bid in on a bank-owned property, you have to show proof of funds, correct?
Yes, you have to show proof
Okay.
of funds.
I just wanted to clarify why you're talking about proof of funds.
And when I say that is all banks are usually they represent there's gonna be a real estate agent involved, all right? Or there's gonna be a real estate agent involved on an estate sale. There'll even be a real estate agent involved on, let's say, on a short sale, right? And Bobby can give you some history on that. Whereas some of them, if you see a short sale listed by a realtor, they're all going to require some type of proof of funds. But don't get nervous because there's transactional real estate investment companies out there that'll give you a proof of funds, okay? Or if you know someone, you got a 401k or anything like that, show it as your proof. Simple as that. Now, as far as the negotiation, it's twofold. Depending on, it's all about personalities. Now, if you're buying a property from an individual, right, and they're a wholesaler, right, if I'm able to meet them and I got a good feel, I try to either meet them for coffee, I try to either meet them at my office. I never try to initially meet them at their property. And the reason why I say that is because, see, people are more defensive and more possessive when they're in their home, right? So I try to come across to them like, listen, I'm a professional, right? I know what I'm doing. I've been through this, right? And I try to get them in a place where they can unwind, right? That the grief of losing their property or having to sell their property is not overwhelming. And I call it, I don't like playing on other people's home court. That's their home court. I find it more more persuasive when I'm able to take them out of that surrounding and explain to them exactly what I'm doing and being straight up honest with you and say, listen, I'm interested in buying your property, but the great thing about this is this. I'm connected with a consortium of investors who I know would be willing to buy your property if I'm not able to myself, and it doesn't cost you anything. You always tell them that. They might pay me a fee or something for referring, but so you can totally make them at ease that, hey, when you're negotiating with them, you're not going to be paying a sales commission. You're not going to be asking them for any money. You're not going to be asking them for a cut. Like, you're working basically now in their best interest as an investor, or I should say as a transactional investor. Okay. That's how I work it on the A to B side. I try to be very compassionate, thoughtful, coming across very professional, right? And just everyone has a story. It's about 99% of the people that get a deal from even an agent, right? We all know people do business with the people who they like. You know what I mean? It's simple. Like, if you have a great personality, you'll have a realtor and you bonded with them and you have a deal that doesn't make sense. This is what I tell people sometimes. I get a lead, right? And the person doesn't want to do business with me. I call a realtor who I know can call them up and say, listen, I have a lead. I think you should call this person. They get the lead. A lot of times they can flip that deal back to you, right? And you're building your relationship with a realtor. So I know I'm going a little bit all over the place, but it's very important to establish those relationships on the A to B side. I mean, just getting the deal. Okay. Now, your pricing negotiation on deals, right? That's between you and the seller, right? So this is what I tell people. When you're wholesaling, right? You have to remember, you make your money on the A to B in order to sell it to an investor. So if a property is worth, let's say, $250,000, right? And you sign a contract with the seller for 250,000, right? It makes no sense now for you to try to sell that to an investor for 280,000. You didn't do your job.
Hey, Bruce. So first off, that's an amazing nugget for everybody. Just in case anybody missed it, he meets sellers for coffee or somewhere outside of their house. That is awesome. I'm going to use that one. So all right, talking about the A to B, relate that to the bank though, because we understand that when you're talking about A to B to the seller, right? But like, how do you deal A to B? What is the first step? So you want to wholesale REO properties. What is step number one? Are you just bidding on these properties? Do you have to reach out to the agent specifically with the REO properties?
Okay, now if you're on a website like Hubzu auction.com,
Yeah.
or auction.com, Hubzu, you can just bid on them. There are online auctions for them, right? But when you go to let's say HomePath, which is Fannie Mae properties, right? You're going to actually contact an agent, right? There are some agents that'll throw the REO properties there. The banks have assigned them to be the actual listing agents, okay? Auction sites to bid on REO.
Oh, no,
Hubzu.com.
that's me. Yeah, yeah, I'm just typing it
Okay.
in.
Let
Yeah.
me tell you guys, Hubzu.com is one of the best REO sites to buy properties. I can actually prove to you that in 2018, I wholesaled 85 of their properties directly. I grossed wholesaling probably somewhere like about 1.9 million just in doing their properties. They were super easy because number one, they allow you to use your own title company. Your title company holds your escrow deposit. And the beautiful thing is, even though they'll try to tell you that your deposits are non-refundable, I want you guys to know on auction sites, they're always refundable. And here's the law. Here's the law, okay? They need you to sign off on them keeping your deposit. If you don't sign off on them keeping your deposit, they cannot legally relist that property to another buyer. If they do that, they have to return your deposit. So you got to be careful. You got to know the nooks and crannies. So I'm telling you now, on REO deals, deposits are refundable.
That's great. Hey,
And
Pierre has a really good question here. So, okay, you're saying you're going and you're bidding on these properties. Are you just signing on and firing off bids, or like, how do you systemize this process? Because I would imagine it's a numbers game, right? How do you build a system? What kind of systems are you setting up?
well, I tell people right now, I generally, what area do you want to work? Because what I tell people is this, is that when you're a wholesaler, right? Especially on bank REO properties, you're going to have to meet your investors, right, at the properties. So, are you driving 45 minutes out? Are you driving an hour out, right? Um, do you have a team that works for you in all other parts of the country? You have co-wholesale.
Okay, so then what he's saying then, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, what you're saying is the first thing you want to do, pick your market, and if you're not physically there, get boots on the ground. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, and
Okay.
control the deal from there.
Okay.
Now, this is what I tell people all the time is that and I'm just gonna be frank. People that are new to wholesaling, especially bank owner, don't believe the gurus who tell you you're gonna buy this system, you're gonna wholesale five to 10 deals a month, virtual wholesaling. I'm not a virtual guy. Okay. I believe that the best way to learn wholesaling is do a deal locally. Because when you get into that virtual wholesaling, right, you're just adding another layer to actually wholesaling, where there's co-wholesaling, you're splitting fees, you're doing this, you're doing that. You kind of got to learn the business in your local market first, and then be able to have the confidence to branch out, make connects with other people. So what I would say, Pierre, is what market, Pierre, what market are you close to? Where are you at? If you don't mind typing it in. I'm just curious where he's at.
You can shout it out too, Pierre, if you want.
I am in Hampton Roads, Virginia, Greensboro. I'm not new. I'm just learning, a new strategy from you now. I'm in Hampton Roads, Virginia, Greensboro, North Carolina, and
Okay.
Atlanta and DeKalb County, Georgia.
So you already know those are hot markets, especially
Correct.
especially Greensboro and all that. So if you got a boots on the ground, you can definitely do things like that. But the great thing about REO deals, right, is that 95% of the agents, once I'm dealing with a bank or dealing with online, even the banks, right? Once you get an online offer accepted, right? They'll have a real estate agent involved, right? The beautiful thing about these real estate agents is what? They give you the code to the property to get in. So now you're able to send your code out. You're able to get access to the property to get in and out to show it. If they don't, able to bring people in for inspectors. Hey, I got partners, but a good agent is going to let you basically, hey, going to give you that code and going to give you access, right? The other thing I want to tell you guys is on wholesaling REO deals, especially with banks. Do not listen to that verbiage that it's as is, that you're buying as is. I can tell you that over 90% of bank-owned properties that I bought, I've always gotten some type of reduction on them. They give you, they'll give you money for the oil tank. And a lot of times, they'll remove the oil tank for you, which you want them to do. Okay. They'll give you for mold. They'll give you for HVAC. Don't believe that they will not give you credits. Hubzu will ask you, right? What's their credit? And I'm going to give you guys a property that you can look up. Sometimes you could look up the history of property. There was a property in Jersey City. It was 302 and a half 4th Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. I think it was 07302. The bank wanted, Hubzu wanted, I think $780,000 on this property, right? I found out that they had a bunch of building violations in the past. The property had some kind of illegal added addition, which was a great addition, but it was done illegally, right? I packaged that all up. I sent it to Hubzu and I asked for a $200,000 credit. 200 grand. They didn't give me 200 grand. They gave me a 150 credit, right? $150,000 credit. I was able to sell that property for $725,000. I made that was just an unbelievable flip. So when you're buying REOs, always ask for repair credit when you have them under contract, if that makes any sense.
Wow, I'm actually shocked at that. That's the second time I'm shocked on this call because that one, well, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they would do work.
Always ask for repair money.
That's so big.
They will give you a repair credit. Trust me. And I've done deals where, simple case where I bought a property, let's say for 200,000, right? And my seller gets upset, not get upset because I'm selling the property to them for 200,000. They're like, wait a minute, you're buying it for 200,000, you're selling it for 200,000. Yeah. Then I show up at the closing table, I got a credit for 45,000.
Wow. So you could build in equity, guys. What I'm taking from this person, this is amazing. You could build in equity. You don't even have to get a discounted deal on paper. You could build in equity with those credits. Wow. That's
exactly.
incredible.
So the credits can be your wholesale pick.
Yeah. Wow.
Or
building in equity with those.
Or you go to your end buyer and you say, your end buyer, listen, I'm buying it for 200. I'm getting it for 200. Just throw me 5 grand, but you got a 20 grand credit. You know what I mean? So like you're in a win, because the good thing about it is on the credits, the bank does not discount the contract price. They give you a credit. So they let the property still sell at 200,000, but they give you a credit. So that's how you're able to do it.
Bruce, what advice could you give? Because it seems to me like actually making the offers, like it's kind of cut and dry. You're just making a shit ton of bids. Is that your strategy to actually make offers? What's your strategy? Just going on Hubzu and making bids?
Oh, I got a team, and my team does this. Uh, the my team does this, and this part I'm going to ask you to edit out because I'm going to share a nugget with you guys. So I wouldn't want you to basically record this part if that's possible.
Okay, hang on, hang on. Okay, recording back on here. So, all right. So then besides that strategy, and thank you very much for sharing that. Besides that strategy, then you're just sending a massive amount of bids. It's a numbers game, correct? Or
It's a
correct me?
numbers game. It's actually a numbers game,
Yeah.
and you have to know what you're bidding on. Now, this is the best time to bid on properties. I've always find my best deals during these times.
What do you mean by these times?
I'm going to tell you during holidays, and everyone's in festive move on Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, around Labor Day time. I'm hawking for deals because all eyes are not on these deals at this time. So when people are out there celebrating, I'm online looking, and those are when I'm trying to get deals
Wow.
because people are asleep.
Hey, Steven has a good question. So do you recommend Bruce starting on Hubzu to look for deals or like what other?
Absolutely.
Okay, Hubzu.
Absolutely. Hubzu is one of the easiest ones, and Hubzu is one they'll tell you they'll make you put a bid deposit, I think of $1,000, right? But it's totally refunded if you lose the bid. And even when you sign the contract, it's sent back to you, right? So all their money is always refundable. And that's what history. If you ever have a problem with a deal with Hubzu, I would strongly suggest that you reach out to me because I know people in the back office.
Okay. Awesome. So, all right, I'm gonna start to wrap this up so then we could ask questions because that's awesome information. And I'll start off the first question, Bruce. So, when it comes to bidding, do you have any metrics? I know it's probably tough, but just like rough numbers, how many offers you need to actually get a deal when you're bidding on Hubzu? Do you remember roughly?
See, the thing about Hubzu is this, right? And here's one of the tricks. They have a reserve met, right? They do the worst thing in the world. They'll list their properties, right? They'll have an auction going on, right? But if you go to the Hubzu property, you can usually find it listed. That list price usually is the auction price that they want for the property, meaning their reserve price. So they'll start a property off at, let's say, 160,000, right? But they really want 190 for it, right? They'll notify you, you met the reserve, right? But if you Google that property, you'll find that reserve met. You'll find that reserve price under their listing price. That's the price they want. On Hubzu, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So what I say is that it fluctuates. Like I've done deals with Hubzu where I was the only one who bid, right? I've done where I put 2 or 3 offers in on a deal, right? Or you can set your reserve, right? Where you can set your bidding. So you can tell Hubzu, I'm bidding 140, right? But they'll let you bid up to 200 because you can set that this is the high. So let's say I'm at 140, right, Bob? And you come in at 145, right? They're automatically going to place an automatic bid for 147 for me.
Got
If
it.
you get what I'm saying. All right.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions, guys? You could either turn your mic. Okay. We have one from John. When you purchase from Hubzu, do they always provide clear title, just like auction.com does? It's a good question.
Yes, I've never had a problem with the title, but I've always used my own title company. I don't even trust auction.com title company because let me tell you what happens. They'll give you, especially on foreclosed properties, right? You want that basically that the big search done. I mean, it's a blank done from Manhattan. You want it basically to know that foreclosure was done properly. That forgot what search they call it, but it's the search that goes back 30 years. So that's why I suggest
The
use
first
your own
owner
title
search,
company.
I think it's called the first
And
owner.
what?
I think it's called the first owner search.
Yes, you want that. So I wouldn't use their title company. I'm being honest.
Okay, another question. Do you focus on single family REOs or commercial properties too?
When you say commercial, you mean mixed use or
Anything over anything over 4 units, retail, anything.
I noticed on Hubzu, it's primarily 1 to 4 family homes.
Okay. Is a new deposit required for each bid or just in your account? In other words, 10 bids.
Each bid.
Okay. These are great questions, guys. Anybody else?
Yeah.
I actually have one while we're waiting. So you make a bid, your bid gets approved. How quick do you have to close? What's the typical timeline?
Let me tell you something. The beautiful thing about Hubzu, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I held out a property one time because I couldn't find a buyer for 9 months.
Not even just Hubzu though, just like, oh, so then it's not up to the bank, Bruce? Like, no, okay.
Not really. They'll work with you. They'll tell you the 30 days, but they'll generally give you. That's the beautiful thing about using your own title company, because your own title company will tell them, "Oh, title's not back yet. We don't have all the searches back. We don't have the back search back." So if you got the right title company, they're letting them know, "Hey, the vault that we got to get into to find the back searches, they only let people in twice a week. So when you start dealing with your title company, they usually they'll let you roll. They'll give you 60 to 90 days to close."
Okay. We have another question. Does Hubzu allow you a termination option period in your offer?
Yes. Yes. And this is what you do. When you're submitting to these auction companies, right? Always submit to them with a private lender proof of funds. And the reason why I say is this. People say, "Oh, I gotta say I'm cash." Don't do it. If you say you're a mortgage, right? And you can't close, and there's an issue, even if you're wholesaling, as long as that lender sends you a denial letter, there's no fault on you. You can terminate it.
That's another great nugget there.
It didn't meet the asset requirement. It's not valued right. That's when I get them. Oh, the lender would do the deal, but they said they're not giving me 250. They're only giving me 200. Will you take less? It works. Send us the appraisal, let's say sometimes.
Mike has a question here. If you win the bid, I assume you must buy it or lose a deposit, no due diligence period for inspection. And then that may relate to the previous question.
Don't believe that. You have it right. Here's what happens. This is what people understand. Those auctions can give you all these rules they want, right? Your state consumer laws say something different. Okay? So let me ask you this now. I inspect the property. I buy a property, right? No, I'll take it this. You go to a car dealer. You put deposit down on the car, right? Okay. You checked it out, it's fine. The day you go back to pick it up, there's no engine in the car. It's got dents on it. You still gonna pay the same amount for that price? You still gonna be locked in that contract? No, they gotta let you out. All right. Now, same thing with a house. When they tell you there's no due diligence period, no. The state requires me to get a CO, or the city requires me to do a CO inspection, right? You're basically, they want you basically are entitled to these inspections. So even when they say no inspection, guess what? My lender requires inspection. So don't believe that. I've never had a problem with Hubzu or auction.com implementing that. And they've given me rebates for it. I've never bought a house that like Hubzu told me one time, when somebody in the back guy, he sent me, he goes, you know what? There's never a property that you buy that you don't have an issue with. Nope. Because I asked for a credit on every single one of them. They already know.
Hang on now, because this is big. So then, okay, they give you credits, which is, to me, is, that blows my mind. But you're saying a part of your strategy is you ask for a credit on everyone. That's a part of your system.
Part of my system.
Wow. Take notes on that, guys. I'm definitely writing that down. So
I haven't gotten a house yet that doesn't have mold in it.
there you go. Every single bid that he puts in through Hubzu on an REO property, he always asks for the repair credit. That's
And this is what I do. I win the bid. After I've signed the contract, then I ask for the repair credit.
got it.
I don't scare them out. I want the contract, then I ask for them. Then they'll tell me the max this investor will give as far as a repair credit is $12,000. You ask for 24. So if you want a repair credit of 10,000, ask for 15,000. Ask for 20,000. You know what I mean? Just overinflate your repair credit. And then sometimes they'll say to you, hey, can you send over the contractor's report? So I'll call a buddy of mine, here's $50. Can you come write this mold up? And he writes everything up and I send it over to him.
Gotcha. All right. A couple more questions here. Kenneth said, thank you. This is amazing info, Bobs. Ken, I 100% agree. Steve said you have a copy of that LLC buyout agreement you used.
Yes, I do. If you want to send me an email at info at REO Not REO, that's wholesalingdaily.com.
I just put that in the chat.
That's it.
Info at REO Wholesaling.
Now let me give you guys another nugget.
Real quick before you do that, look at the email. Did I spell everything right? Is that your
Yes,
email?
you did. I saw it.
All right.
Okay. When you have these wholesaling deals, right? Why aren't you calling your title company and asking them for buyers? They have more buyers than anybody. So that's another thing is though, when you have a title company, use them because they want more business. They have investors. They know who's buying. Same thing with hard money lenders. Like I'll tell a lot of wholesalers, hey, sign up with a hard money lender as a referral agent. That way you're getting money. You're getting money wholesaling it. And also you can tell your buyer, listen, you're using hard money, use my lender. Make a couple of points on the mortgage also, just referring it. So these are all people that have access to buyers. So you're not running out here going on Facebook saying, hey, I need to create a buyer's list. Because all you're doing is getting a bunch of different wholesalers that are going to say, I'm an investor. I hate to say, that's the worst game in the world is looking for buyers actually on Facebook. Go to the title companies, ask closing attorneys, ask hard money lenders. They know who's buying. That's where you're going to find your buyers at.
How do you compensate them? Do you co-wholesale with the title company?
They're getting the business, Bob. Why do they need any of my money? They're getting the business. I'm not asking to cut. I'm not asking for a cut of their title fees. You know what I mean? That's how it is. It's a trade-off. They're bringing in more business. they look great to their client that they're looking out for them, right? And also, with the hard money lender, you can sign up as a referral or as an affiliate and make a couple of points on the mortgage, you know? So it's really one of those things where, hey, you're creating your own network where everybody's making money off the deal, you know?
Gotcha.
But when I got the right title company, like Clear Skies Title in New Jersey, I come in here like, and I had a great year, like the year in 2018. I'm coming in here like Santa Claus to take care of all the girls and everything in there that made sure that my deals moved out smoothly. You know, you have to do that.
Got it. Steven said, how can title companies provide referrals? I mean, I could weigh in on that. That varies so much from state to state. I mean, the RESPA rules with title companies are just insane. So I mean, that's a whole
No,
different topic.
when I say referrals, I mean title companies can tell you investors that are going to buy your properties.
Yeah.
Because they constantly have investors in and out. So I'm not saying that they can refer you to REO deals, but they can refer you to investors they know that buy REO deals and that might even understand the LLC buyout. And most of these investors that buy bank-owned properties, they do understand doing the LLC buyout method and everything. And guys, like I'm on Facebook as the Wolf of Wholesaling. If you ever want to send me an inbox a question, I'll answer. It's not a problem.
Bruce, and I do have a question. Out of the deals that you get, what percentage do you typically keep, and what makes you keep that versus wholesale that?
I generally try to keep properties that are if I got 40% equity in that property, I'm keeping it. If the rent roll makes sense, if it's a multi-unit building, I'll try to keep it, right? All single families, I'm not holding them, I'm flipping. I'm wholesaling out. But generally, like right now, I am involved in like even with different investors. Like I have this investment group right now. I put out a bunch of properties yesterday that I'm wholesaling out. The crazy thing about this property that I'm wholesaling out is all of these properties that I'm selling now for this hedge fund, right? Were all properties I sold then. Right? What I even do with big investors like them, they have a portfolio of like 1,500 houses, right? On properties that I wholesaled them out, they allowed me to keep small equity interest in some of the properties. So like there was a 40 unit building that I went after one time and we were able to get. So instead of them paying me X amount of dollars, right, as a wholesale fee, hey, give me 25 grand and I want 4% equity into the deal. So that's how I've created residual income and everything. But primarily, David, I'm not the best management guy, right? So if it's single family, I'm definitely wholesaling. Anything with 2, 3, or 4 units, I look to see if it's something I want to hold based on the area and everything, right? But I'll wholesale it too. But anything that gets like 18, 24 units, and I know it might be a group of investors involved, I ask for a piece of the equity. So when they do sell out eventually, I'm able to make even more.
On that equity, are you getting cash flow like you're an LP, or?
Yep, I'm getting cash flow. I'm either getting a quarterly payout or a yearly payout. But these guys I've known forever. Like right now, like I said, they giving me but and then I've done deals with investors that who basically say to me, hey Bruce, I'm going to buy and fix this property from you. Can you find me a buyer? So I've given people, like, let's say a guy who said my wholesale fee was 20,000. I said to him, listen, you know what? I gamble on myself. Pay me 17.5, but when you go to sell it, give me a 60-day exclusive as your rep to sell that property for you. So I'll make a commission when he sells it too. See, a lot of people think that you got to be a real estate agent in order to sell a property. But what I've done is work deals where an investor will use me as as a marketing arm for his company. So I'm representing him. So it's not actually like I'm operating without a real estate license. I'm being employed by this investor's LLC to handle liquidation for him. So even if agents approach me, this is what it's going to be. So everything's wording, guys. Everything's a lot. It's wording. Like I said, I've been doing this 20 years. I mean, the one thing I agree with Bob Principal on is there's a ton of short sales that was held up before the pandemic. Yep. We still don't have properties that are back on the market from the crash from 2008. Banks are holding, and this is how you know they're holding, right? Remember we saw how quickly the banks paid their bailout money back. Banks got that money back fast, okay? They paid it back fast. The other thing was this, is that during the pandemic, they stopped all these sheriff sales, right? But also you saw banks doing was building up cash reserves, building up cash reserves, building up cash reserves, because they know they have product that they're holding inventory that they have to hold, because I believe personally, the government said to them, listen, you throw this out on the market, you're going to decrease home sales so dramatically by throwing all this inventory out there. So it's strategically being placed out there. But the pandemic now has caused such a logjam that you're going to see some movement this summer heading up all up. And I think it's going to be the Wild Wild West in 2024. I really do.
I love that. I totally agree. And going off of what you just said, guys, don't believe the stuff in the mainstream media, how they're saying everything's good, everything's good. Just like you said, okay, first off, I totally agree they're withholding a lot of the inventory. Second off, everyone talks about pre-foreclosures, properties that are already, the bank is already in the process of taking them back. Don't forget about the people that are just recently falling behind on their mortgage.
Yep.
Most of the short sales I'm doing right now in my company, they're not even in pre-foreclosure. Nobody talks about these people, and there's no way to seek these people out because nothing's recorded. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling for groceries. They're living paycheck to paycheck and they cannot pay their mortgage. They're just now falling behind. Pay attention for that stuff too.
And it's one hedge fund I have in New Jersey, right? I've sold them a ton of properties over the last 15 years, right? And they've given me a list to get rid of properties for them, right? Because they don't want to list them. Because they see it, they're very visionary. They see it, right? And they're not they don't want their competitors to know. They're selling small blocks off now, right? Of their 2 to 4 family portfolio. They don't want people to see that, but they see it coming. And they've scaled now into bigger developments, right? So you're going to see it. They know it. And the worst thing that happened was the way the economy, by spiking up that interest rates, the banks now, they're going to have to they're going to have to take this off their books. They're going to have to.
Yeah, totally agree. We could go on this freaking forever. This is a whole nother webinar. He and I, we could ramble about this forever. Any other questions? Okay, I see Steven has another question. Do you co-wholesale stuff if somebody brings a buyer for one of your REO deals? Bruce?
I'll tell you right now, this is what I tell people. I hate that word. I hate co-wholesaling. Because I'm going to tell you what I do is this, okay? Is I find a deal, someone buys a buyer, right? And I bring it back to the old car salesman scenario. You go buy a car, first thing a car salesman says, hey, you know anybody interested in a car? Buy it, I'll give you a bird dog. I'll give you $200 if you bring somebody in. He ain't splitting his commission, okay? In the wholesale business, right? I believe in co-wholesaling of this, though. I'm giving them max. If I make $100,000 on a deal and someone brings me a buyer, I'm only giving them 20% of my fee. It's not 50-50. I don't believe in that. some people do it. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. I base it on a percentage of my net. That's what I base it on. Some people believe on a 50. I just don't believe in, oh, you got a buyer's list. You took my property. You threw it out there for 100 buyers. You got somebody on the hook. Now you're getting 100 grand and you want $50,000. That's not happening. I'm Wall Street trained, guys. I'm sorry. I can't do that. You know, I'm just sorry. I'm just sorry. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I would suggest anyone to set their expectations with somebody and let them know, hey, listen, you know, I'm making $10,000. You're gonna give somebody $5 grand? No, I think for a buyer, I think giving them $2,500 for a buyer is great money on a $10,000 wholesale, right? Now, my thing was, and this is what I tell people, they weren't out there shooting in the gym with me, right? Right? They came when the shots almost all the way through the basket, right?
Big reference.
You know, so I mean, that's just me. I mean, I'm not against it, but I'll tell a person straight up transparency. Hey, it's on there. My title company is going to give you. It's on the contract, on our agreement. Title company pays you X amount of my net, and I'm fully transparent. But I very rarely I'll do a 50-50 deal.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Guys, one more question. We got time for one last question. Anybody at all to squeeze it in there? All right, cool.
Bob, bring me back on whenever you want, man. I like.
Let me tell you something. I'll tell you what I want to do. I'll tell you what I want to do because the second half of it was fire. I think I'm going to bring you back on just for like a Q&A about REO wholesaling. Not even like the present. We'll just do people hop on, fire away questions, whatever. This was awesome, man. Seriously, thank you so much.
I want to tell you guys something, right? And I very rarely actually, like I said, I have some institutional investors that give me a lot of stuff to liquidate, right? So I'm not out there maybe as much as I used to, like grinding to get the deals, because these guys have given me like a ton of business and I've made money with them expediting or whatever, right? But there's money in this. Don't believe it. Don't believe that you're gonna do 5 to 10 deals a month or whatever, right? This is what I tell everybody right now. Find you in the beginning one great deal that makes sense, right? Work that deal, work your network, and I guarantee you, deals will just start coming in. Like Bob, you don't know Bob. I checked you out before you checked me out, and I was like, hey, this guy's getting it, and I like your whole shorts. And I was like, you know what? He's on the angle that a lot of people don't talk about is short sales. I sent you over to a friend of mine. He does short sales. His name Matt Marinoff, right? I busted him. I said, hey Matt, I think I found the new king of short sales, because that's what he calls himself, the king of short sales. He goes, Bruce. So he looks at your face. He goes, Bruce, this guy's good. He knows. I said, yeah, he's good, like that. But there's money in this. Don't believe it. And all I stress to people is do it with a professional approach. Don't do it like the car salesman. People thrive off your professionalism, right? And even when that homeowner or that bank says no, don't get discouraged. There's a way to get through it. And that's what I tell all you. Trust me, there is money in this though. All right. And there's real people making money in it.
Awesome, man. This was absolute fire. Guys, he's on Facebook, the Wolf of Wholesaling on Facebook. He's got coaching. He's there to help you. You know, hit him up. The email scroll back.
I'm even now doing business funding, business credit. We're doing everything. So, you know, but thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, man. This was absolutely. We'll definitely have you back on for a Q&A. Everybody, thanks for joining. Have a great day, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.